It's always crazy to watch television and to see the types of drama that takes place during the creative process, right? I mean, there is so much TV that's being produced, so many movies that are being made, so many things that are happening in Hollywood that not everything shapes up and works out the way you want it to. And if you're Orlando Jones, you are really, really, really unhappy because of being let go as Mr. Nancy from the show American Gods on Stars. In fact, you go on to social media and you post this, which has gotten 1.9 million views in the last month because, well, people were pretty ticked off about it.
September 10th, 2018, I was fired from American Gods. There will be no more Mr. Nancy. Don't let these motherfuckers tell you they love Mr. Nancy. They don't. I'm not going to name names, but the new season 3 showrunner is Connecticut born and Yale educated, so he's very smart. And he thinks that Mr. Nancy's angry, get shit done is the wrong message for Black America. That's right. This white man sits in that decision-making chair, and I'm sure he has many Black BFFs who are his advisors and made it clear to him that if they did not get rid of that angry God, Mr. Nancy, he'd start a Denmark VC uprising in this country. I mean, what else could it be? To the wonderful Neil Gaiman, thank you for allowing me to play this role, for writing this wonderful book, for opening the door for me to become a writer-producer on season 2 of American Gods. Thank you, sir. To the magnificent Brian Fuller and the incredible Michael Green, thank you for creating this series and for allowing me also to become Mr. Nancy. I hope the fans enjoyed it because really this is about you. I hope you loved it as much as I loved doing it. And, we see each other again real.
So there we have it. His comments a month ago about being fired as Mr. Nancy, which was the god on the show who embodied the rage that Black Americans have. And it was a good character from what I was told. I haven't seen the show yet. Well-beloved character. Giving voice to the voiceless. A lot of people really liked it. And I love Orlando Jones. I have ever since Mad TV back in the late 90s. I've been a big Orlando Jones fan. So I do want to see the show. I just don't have Stars. But this is a story that I found to be very interesting because of the backlash it created. The backlash it created was that Stars had effectively fired him because he was too angry. And that was not what the showrunner, who was white male, educated at Harvard, wanted to see in the show. And that was what was used as a way at the time in order to really get people on side of Orlando Jones. There was hashtags on Twitter and a lot of social activism trying to get him back in the show. But let's be fair. Let's be realistic. Once he posted this video, and he was done. And he's done for a while and probably a fair amount of mainstream projects. Hollywood doesn't like it when you attack the other people in the industry, whether you are justified or not. It doesn't lead to getting work. But now we find out more about what happened. We find out more about what's going on here because this is coming in from the Wrap. This is coming in today from the Television Critics Association 2020. The STARZ CEO explains why Orlando Jones was let go. And it's not because of what Orlando Jones thinks that it is. At least that's the story they're going with. You are free to agree or disagree, but all we have here is really the words of the higher ups. Now, it says here, STARZ CEO Jeff Hirsch responded to the controversy over Orlando Jones' exit from American Gods, saying that his character, Mr. Nancy, doesn't play a prominent role in the portion of Neil Gaiman's book that will serve as the basis for the 3rd season. Right? It says here, the book is very rich and dense, full of story. Unfortunately, the season we're putting up in season 3, Mr. Nancy does not have a role in the story. So he doesn't have a role in the story, but that doesn't mean that he's entirely gone. And even this makes it out to be like he's not entirely gone. He could potentially come back. I don't know if he would after this point. I don't know if the showrunner, who is being Chick Egley is his name. I don't know if he's going to want him to come back if he stays on as a showrunner for season 4. But given how many times they've gone through showrunners on this program, the likelihood of Chick Egley actually surviving, so to speak, this season into the next season is probably pretty low, to be honest with you. Now, it says here, in December, Jones went on Twitter and said that he was fired from the Fremantle-produced series back in September. He further said that new showrunner Chick Egley felt Mr. Nancy sent the wrong message for Black America. added that he was treated like a second-class citizen at the production company Fremantle. At the time, a spokesperson for American Gods and Eggly rebutted Jones's comments, saying that Jones was let go because his character was not featured in the portion of the book that they're focusing on in the upcoming season. And that is actually, that's a fair thing, right? That's a fair thing in regards to these adaptations. You know, it's like shoehorning in old characters doesn't necessarily fit the mold of what you're trying to do, and it ends up deviating. If you want my honest opinion, they were trying to avoid a Game of Thrones situation. Because in Game of Thrones, the books, there are characters who are alive in the books that were dead in the show. There are characters that didn't exist in the show that existed in the books, and vice versa. And by the end of the 8-season saga, it got crazy and fans got real upset. So it could be here that when it comes to Neil Gaiman and them wanting to stay honorable to his source material, that they'd opted to just remove the character because he's not going to be featured at all in this section. Now, there are going to be people out there who are going to say, but why not write him in? Why not write a small thing for him? And that's entirely a valid argument. But we have to also question, well, budget, guild rules. I mean, if you listen to what Orlando Jones was saying, he was allowed to be a writer and a producer on season 2. And I'm sure he was working on his character and producing stuff for his character in season 2. If his character isn't prominent or isn't featured at all in season 3, then there's no financial reason to have him on board. And it boils down to numbers, and it boils down to all of these things. And unfortunately, when the situation arises, when this sort of thing happens, it doesn't happen the way that you want it to, and that becomes a problem. Now, Hirsch reiterated on Tuesday that when pressed further to decline on Jones's accusations about what Eggly said to him, saying it is one of the most diverse casts on television, and we think Cheek is doing a great job at mapping a great show. Cheek and the team decided to be in an area where Mr. Nancy doesn't play a prominent role, so that's where we are. Eggly took over as showrunner for the 3rd season of the drama, which had its fair share of production troubles. Eggly is the 3rd different showrunner in as many seasons of the fantasy series. And there's also a 19-month delay from season 2 to season 3. And that was also in part of why Orlando Jones was apparently upset. And this is something, if it's true, and I believe that it is, makes absolute sense. So, you know, he finished up season 2 where Mr. Nancy was a character, you know, good sized character. He was a writer and a producer on the show. So that's his livelihood. That's his job. And he was then expecting to come back to work on season 3. And he waited all that time, and nothing happened until he got the call in September that he was being let go. And I'm sure his pride and his ego are wounded, as I believe that they have every right to feel that way. And he feels that he was let go when he should have been told much sooner that that wasn't going to happen. And so he waited a couple months. Something probably triggered him in order to go on social media and make the claim that he made and that in the video that I showed you and go from there. But look, the way that I see it is just as a writer is when you're adapting someone's work, if a character doesn't continue on, there's like, you have to start following the source material. I mean, The Walking Dead had played it fast and loose with this as well, like Game of Thrones did. They would, you know, but they still had a core group of characters that were in the comics, that were in the show, and they still followed it pretty closely. Sometimes they deviated after a while, but they followed a lot of the beat points. And if in this section of Gaiman's book, Mr. Nancy doesn't appear, then there makes no sense for Mr. Nancy to be in the show. Should they send him off and give him something to do, give him a segue to come back another season? Yeah, 100%. So that's where we're at right now with this whole thing. I hope they sort it out. I hope they get it figured out. I love Orlando Jones. I've seen clips of him in the role, and he brings this intensity, which is really cool. And I think it's opening up a valid conversation. But if he's trying to claim racism and bigotry, which is what he's trying to do, I'm like, look, you know, I'd like to get more information on that one. It kind of felt like it was a bit of a play to get public pressure to bring you back on. And that seems it basically might have fallen apart. I don't know. It's a weird place to be, but it's like when you start invoking those kind of sentiments, there really is only like one of two angles to play from. That is, you either want there to be You get the invitation to come back through public pressure, or you are literally just burning every bridge and hope that you nuke that one from orbit too. And that's kind of where I find myself on this particular story. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. If you've seen American Gods, let me know what you think of it. Should I watch it? I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Anyway, I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a fantastic day. Thank you for watching, and peace out.